Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of PSVG, the official podcast of PlaySomeVideoGames.com and the flagship show of the PSVG Podcast Network, the only podcast network that's currently registered with the ESRB and clearly labeled for in-game purchases. It is I, your host, Kevin. With me this week is Josh. Sir, how are we doing today?
I'm exhausted, but I'm excited to be here.
That's right. We got a little bit of snow, so Josh has been shoveling a lot more than I have today, but either way, I think we can say it sucked.
Oh, yeah. Winter. We got another nor'easter on the way on Monday. So.
Oh, we do? I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, it's all great. You know, life is over as we know it.
The apocalypse. Global warming, though, everybody. You know, hey.
So warm.
Also, with us, maybe, is Nathan. So he might jump in midstream. He's having some technical difficulties, but the show must go on. So let's check in and talk a little bit about what we've been playing. Josh, why don't you go first?
Oh, I would love to. Okay, sorry if you listen to Bored with Video Games, because I'm going to talk about the same games. I jumped into one of the Games of Gold for the month, Trials of the Blood Dragon, and I will say this: I've tried the Trials games, like Trials Fusion. If you don't know what that is the agility motorcycle game, if you will. If you'll accept my poor description of it. So it takes Trials and it adds in a little bit of that flair of, well, Far Cry did a Blood Dragon, like 90s, retro 90s game on the 360, was it?
Yeah, because it was after Far Cry 3, so yeah.
Okay, so I didn't play it.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't.
Dude, it's so good.
Yeah, I heard it was great. I haven't played any Far Cry games, so if this counts as one, this was my first.
No, this doesn't count.
But essentially, so this game is just a glorious homage to 90s movies and television and cartoons, and basically it is an animated story. There's a lot of cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's so while you're watching a cutscene, it will like cut in a fake commercial real quick, staticky, jump in and out. The story is crazy. It's over the top. You play as two kids. The boy's name is Slay. I forget the girl's name, but they're very cartoonish, like funny, like
very Danny Phantom-esque. I thought the animation reminded me of Danny Phantom.
It reminded me of like Venture Brothers, like stuff like that. And did you play this game?
Yeah. I've been playing it on and off whenever PUBG's not working.
Okay, so I started it on Monday. Was it Monday or Tuesday? Monday. I started it on Monday. I finished it on Monday.
I've only played like 2 hours, so I don't know.
I never do that. I never start a game and finish a game in a day. It was so good. I fell in love with the game. Everything about it was unique. Every time you played a level, it was different.
Yeah.
And even when you're doing the motorcycle stuff, the levels are changing around you as you're going. There's Indiana Jones levels. There's Power Rangers levels. There's Mars level.
There's Hotline Miami levels.
Hotline Miami. It's insane. It really blew me away. So if you're already paying for gold, play this game. At least try it.
Yeah.
Because that was my goal. I was like, I'm just going to try it. If I don't like it, I'll uninstall it. And then I just ended up finishing it. It was great. And then real quick, we needed a co-op game in the house. So I picked up Snipper Clips last week just because because we enjoyed the demo. We never picked up the game.
Yeah, see, I didn't know you didn't buy it. Okay.
We got another Switch dock for the house and we put it in the bedroom. And when we upgraded TVs in the living room, we put the big TV in the bedroom now, so it's a little easier to I would say play a game on the TV.
Sure.
Yeah. So we just sat in bed one night. We go into bed when the kid goes to bed because we're exhausted, so we're not always ready to go to sleep. So popped it on, played some levels, had a great time with it. Can't wait to play some more. Jumped into Rise of the Tomb Raider just to check out those Xbox One X enhancements. Mm-hmm. And the game looks incredible. It's probably the next game I'll continue to play. Played Super Lucky's Tale on the Xbox since it's part of Game Pass.
Yep.
I will say It reminded me why I don't like platformers. And it's not about like people who love platformers. You're probably gonna love this game. It has a little bit of Crash
Okay.
Bandicoot in it. It has a little bit of generic platformer in it, but it's also unique where the characters' moves are unique. They're different. They're new. Um, you can, you can jump underground and burrow. You
Mhm.
can spin and jump like Tails a little bit. The levels are 3D aspect where you're sometimes in the background of the level and in the foreground, and sometimes you go back and forth. Here's the thing that why it reminds me of. So it's like it has like a hub world, kind of like Mario. Think Mario 64,
Sure.
and then you jump into like paintings or portals to go into
Mhm.
the levels. So once you complete a level, you go back into the main hub world, and every coin and everything is in Bad Guy. They're all back. You turn the game off, you turn the game back on to play again later. All the coins and all the bad guys are back in the hub world. For me, I can't. I need to collect everything. I need to snap my finger. I need to to have cleared levels. So like if I go into the hub world of Super Lucky's Tale and it keeps repopulating every little coin I collected, I
Mhm.
can't keep doing that. That's just
No.
my OCD. So that's why I think like that's one of those things that reminds me of how much I have a tough time with platformers because it's not uncommon for that to be in games. That being said, I did download Ratchet and Clank for PS Plus, and I will try it. In the last game that I tried was Mighty Number Nine. Speaking of PS Plus,
Yeah, right.
I have already uninstalled it. So that will tell you what I think about that game.
Oh boy. I know the PSXP podcast is playing that as their game of the month, if you will. Every month they're gonna pick a PS Plus game and kind of play through it together and give their impressions later on in the month. I'm probably gonna jump in and try it just because I know it's the spiritual successor, I guess, of Mega Man, but I've only heard bad things, but I'm still gonna try it anyway, I think.
Yeah, I
So
mean you should try it, and it's free, so like there's no reason to not try it. But
yeah.
um, I don't. I would almost say there's something wrong with you if you like it, so I won't.
So like so really briefly though, what was your main gripe? From what I've heard, the controls are a hot mess. Like it doesn't function the way it should.
You know what?
Uh,
I didn't hate the controls.
okay.
It's very much Mega Man. You know what really bugged me was the level design and how they very clearly didn't put the same amount of work into certain characters and
Okay.
certain parts of the level, and it's it's glaring. And a game, I know Mega Man games are hard. Uh,
Right.
the game shouldn't. It bugs me the checkpoint system where you don't necessarily know when you're getting a checkpoint, and when I'm in a boss fight and I die, I I can't now at this point in gaming, I can't subscribe to the idea of starting 5 minutes back in the level again every time you die at a boss fight, especially if it's a game where boss fights are supposed to be hard. If the game was better, maybe I could accept it, but I just couldn't get past like starting at the beginning of the level again or starting at a random point in the level again because whatever happened. So I mean, you guys be the judge. Tell me if I'm wrong. I would love to hear that I'm wrong because they put so much work into that game on
You are
paper.
wrong.
Okay. They put so much work into the game on paper, but you know, someone dropped the ball and they should have given this game more money, certainly not more time because they took their time with it. But something went wrong. Just a
Definitely.
bummer. I really wanted it to be great, but it wasn't,
We'll
in my
see. We'll
opinion.
see. We'll see if I have the same experience. So we'll find out. I'm not expecting much, so maybe that'll temper my expectations a little bit. All right. So for me, all I've been playing, I did try out the Kirby Star Allies demo that was
Oh,
out
me
for the
too.
Switch. Now I already had the game pre-ordered anyway, just because my wife's been clamoring for something that we can play together on Switch because of, as she reminds me, Pikmin 4 has not been announced, despite Miyamoto saying like 3 years ago it was practically done. So she's very angry at me right now that we can't play Pikmin 3 anymore. So I picked this up. The demo is pretty cool. I will say it is a good looking game. The visuals are actually very, very nice. And I don't think it's going to be like, it's not going to be their next, grand slam hot selling game of all time, but I think it's going to do well, and it seems to be a good Kirby game. And the last couple I've played, while I'm not a Kirby fan, they've been pretty good. So I'm excited for this. So that just kind of cemented that it was a valid purchase. I'm glad I pulled the trigger on that one. I did mention I'm playing Trials of the Blood Dragon as well, kind of on and off when I can. It's fun. I echo what you say. It's got to be real confusing though for you not playing Blood Dragon at all to kind of some of the references I've seen so far. So, but yeah, Blood Dragon. Far Cry Blood Dragon was basically an 80s action movie. The main character had said all the typical, sayings, and it was very much an 80s movie. Like, got to stop the missiles from the Nazis or whatever the storyline was, but it was just your stereotypical action movie, but it was so tongue in cheek. It was fantastic. And this is very much in the same vein. So if you haven't played it, as Josh said, definitely give it a shot. It's very much like a next gen Excite Bike kind of thing, but there's guns used in this one too. So it's fun. And then the last thing is a game I can't stop playing, guys. And I don't know why. I know
why.
Yeah, it's not all right. So we'll get into it, but I will start off saying it's not a great game. It's really not. But I cannot stop playing it. I am obsessed. My daughters are obsessed with it, as ironic as it is too. And Nathan, now that he's able to join, we've gotten some chicken dinners together. It's PUBG. I am hooked. I don't know why. I really don't know why, but I cannot. I boot up my Xbox now and I say, hey, I have all of these games thanks to Game Share with Donnie that I could be playing. And I was like, nope, I'm going to keep playing PUBG. I've installed 12 games, guys, and I have not booted up anything else besides Disneyland Adventures, Trials of the Blood Dragon. The only reason I did Blood Dragon was because one morning I got up and PUBG servers were down, so I couldn't play PUBG. And then PUBG. So, yeah, I'm obsessed. But, Nathan, now that you're here, sir, what have you been playing besides PUBG? Because we know that.
Honestly, I think I've only played PUBG. I mean, just being honest. I mean, I traveled down to Texas for a little bit, and down there I took my Switch with me, but I didn't turn it on. Yeah, so honestly, the only game I've been playing, as Kevin has mentioned, is PUBG, and it's really the reason why you like it so much, Kevin, is it's the thrill of the hunt.
It is. Yep.
It's when you get into that top 10 scenario, or even maybe top 15, top 20, you think there's a chance.
Yeah.
And you're just on your game, you're hyper aware of what's going on. If you get to the top 10, your heart might start pounding a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the endorphins are released, man, and it's just legal. So it's one of those things where it's hard to explain unless you've played it.
Yeah.
I think I put in our Discord, unfortunately, nobody can be told what PUBG is. They have to see it for themselves, and they had the little the Matrix thing with Morpheus.
Yes. Yeah, it's true, man. I don't understand it, but you're 100% right. The rush you get when you get down to the wire. I mean, now I've gotten even solo. I've gotten top 5 now. I still haven't won solo, but I've gotten up there a few times. But you sneak into a building and you think nobody's there, and that first gunshot comes off, and I jump every single time. But it's out of excitement, and then you get that rush, and it's just crazy. But graphically, it's not good. Stuff pops in. I jump all over the screen. Sometimes that plane at the beginning is such a joke the way it looks. But man, it's like crack. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun, just especially when you're playing with friends. It's good solo, but if you're playing in duo or a squad and you can get multiple people in there, and you're kind of playing around a little bit, but then you got to get serious for a second. Yeah. It's fun. It's a good team building game for sure.
For sure. So, all right, well, I think that sums up what we've been playing then. So let's jump into the messages. All right, our first one, it's hot off the presses, guys. As we're recording here is the night that the Nintendo Direct came out. I'm just going to assume that Nathan didn't even watch it. But
I saw something from it, though, so that's kind of cool.
Okay, all right. So with that being said, our first question now, at this point, by the time you're hearing this episode, you've heard Donnie and Jason go in depth on the Nintendo Shack as to what was on the Nintendo Direct. But for us that were not part of that broadcast, Sydney wants to know what was our favorite announcement from the Nintendo Direct. So Nathan, I assume your favorite one was the only one you knew?
That's true. The only one that caught my eye, and that was Smash Brothers coming in 2018. Now, I'm assuming that this was a new Smash Brothers, but it could be like a deluxe type thing too, I suppose. But it kind of looks like the way it was advertised that it could be its own new thing. So, do we know anything more than that?
So the only, and Josh and I talked a little bit about this before we hit record earlier. So you didn't hear this, so I apologize, Josh. You're hearing this again. We received Nintendo's press release right after the Nintendo Direct, and the wording in it is very ambiguous. It can be taken either way. They are only calling it Super Smash Brothers. Now, in the history of every other port Nintendo's brought over so far, there's been like a DX or a deluxe edition or a definitive edition or a complete edition. There's nothing attached to this at all.
Okay.
And so we're not sure. And now people are saying, well, it's kind of quick. It's not really. The last one came out 4 years ago. So while it seems unlikely that it could be kept secret for this long if they really were working on it, my mind thinks it would be a port with some, brushed up stuff. But realistically, they could have kept the same engine and just kind of rebuilt the game from that and save some time. They will note in the thing. So obviously we know that the Squidlings are coming to it from Splatoon. But the Link pictured was Link from Breath of the Wild as well. So that would be a new addition, whether it's a costume or a character change. That's different from the previous one as well. So those are two things right off the bat.
How long has it been since Smash Bros. Came out on the Wii U?
4 years.
So, it's time for a new one, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And plus, I think, too, with the issue of it being like a definitive edition, if they do that, some of the licenses for these additional characters, I don't know if Nintendo's going to put down the money to do it again. So ones like Pac-Man, they have a great relationship with Namco. That would be a given. Sonic, I think the same thing. But then you come down to Bayonetta, I think is fine as well with their relationship. But then you look at Cloud. Would they license Cloud again?
So with everything not weird, but interesting that I've seen Square Enix been doing recently with all their crossover stuff, it would not surprise me if they put Noctis in or Cloud again.
Right.
Someone like that. But Square has been a really interesting company as of late with all the crossover stuff they've been doing with just weird tie-ins and weird games. So I think they even have some tie-in with Valve now, so that you can actually get the what's his name? Gordon
Freeman.
Costume. Yeah, you can get his costume in Final Fantasy 15. So Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Yeah, definitely, totally. The other thing that's out in the wires too is that Sakura, right after the Nintendo Direct happened, all like third-party publishers were reaching out to them as probably a sign that like, hey, we want to get our characters in Smash. So I mean, who knows? Maybe we see. What I would like to see, Banjo-Kazooie return.
No, not going to happen.
Why not? Xbox would do it.
We can get Swap Fire in the Smash Brothers.
You know what would be great? I mean, this is just me pipe dreaming right here. But if Microsoft worked out something and you could get the rare characters and we have cross-play between Xbox and Switch.
Yes, that'd be great. Oh yeah, but you can Smash on Xbox. That'd be tough.
Dream.
Yeah, that only really benefits Microsoft over Nintendo there, I think.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that would come out of left field though. Nobody would expect it.
Oh no, not at all. So Josh, what was your favorite announcement? Because I know you watched most of it. I know you missed kind of the beginning a little bit, but
I missed the 3DS stuff. I caught the Luigi's Mansion remake or whatever nonsense that was.
You sound excited.
I love ports as much as the next Nintendo fan. I'll tell you what, I hated the Dark Souls amiibo, which looks terrible.
Oh, it looks terrible. It looks terrible.
I mean, the potential for Smash, I guess, would be what I would be most excited about if it's a new Smash. But to not use the same answer as Nathan, I'm excited to play Undertale. Because I haven't played it, so sure. I know that they didn't really give us anything except for like a reaffirmation that it's coming eventually. But like Kevin and I did talk about it earlier, like I just forgot it was coming, so it kind of got me excited again to play it. So I guess I'll go with Undertale on this one, even though for
Okay, fair enough. So for me, yeah, it's tough because a lot of the things I was initially most excited for all end up being on the 3DS, and I just don't want to play my 3DS anymore. And I know Jason feels the same way. We've talked about in the past, but like the Luigi's Mansion remake, I would have loved to play it on the Switch. That would have made more sense to me. WarioWare, I love the WarioWare games. Only coming to 3DS. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me again. So Switch related, my favorite announcement I probably would say was all the Splatoon stuff. Uh, I'm shocked that we're looking at a year, almost a year, almost a year at this point, to when the game launch came out in June, I believe. So we're coming up on a year. They're still releasing regular DLC content. There's still new weapons dropping all the time. Now they're talking there's 100 new clothing and gear combinations you can add. There's 3 new stages coming our way. There's now paid DLC, which is a first for Splatoon, but it's a whole new single player campaign that once you complete, you can unlock the Octolings, the antagonists normally of the Splatoon series, as playable characters, which that's never happened other than in hacks. And then to announce Splatoon is going to be in Smash, like that just seems like a lot of stuff, for a franchise that, some people really laugh at. Like there's a lot of people that hate it, but here's the thing: Splatoon 2 has not dropped lower than number 3 on the Switch charts in Japan since it launched. So we're looking at almost a year out, and it's never been lower than number 3 in the sales chart. So there's clearly demand. There are people playing this game still regularly, unlike ARMS. So I would say, I guess that's what I'm most excited about. There wasn't anything that really shocked me to the core that I was like, oh my God, they announced X. We knew Smash was coming eventually. Was I surprised to see it tonight? Yeah, a little bit, but ultimately, like, it didn't get me foaming at the mouth for what's next, but it was exciting. So thank you for that question there, Sydney. Next question comes from Vinny. This one's a little bit heavy-weighted here, guys. So with all that's going on with the government today and video game violence and Trump having his meetings, and today apparently they showed a trailer of all the horrible violence in video games, and people in the room were stunned silent. It was chaos.
88 seconds.
Yep. Ridiculous. How do you, or how did you, in the case of myself, introduce these things to your kids? So I guess, how would you introduce or talk about video game violence with your kids? I'll let you guys go. Actually, no, I'll go first. Give you guys time to think, because this is a little bit different for you guys coming from a perspective where you don't have to deal with this yet. Honestly, up until a couple weeks ago, I didn't even play any games that had more than like cartoon violence in front of my kids, even though they're 14 and 11 are my oldest ones right now. They're now both playing PUBG thanks to the Xbox. But as we know in PUBG, the violence isn't very extreme or graphic. It's just kind of some red spray that happens and people fall down. It's not that I have a problem with violence in video games, but I recognize that violent video games back in my day was Mortal Kombat, where you could barely make out the fact that Sub-Zero ripped a dude's head off and a spinal cord was attached. Like that was what video game violence was, and people went nuts then. So obviously what I'm playing now in like The Evil Within or Resident Evil 7, like that's a lot more graphic than what I ever, experienced as a kid. I try and maintain that balance to my kids. Like, okay, this is not appropriate for you yet. And I have that kind of mind state. So like PUBG, it's not a big deal for most people, but for me, it kind of was a big deal to say, okay, I will let you watch and then eventually play this, which they both do now. And they're fine. They understand, what it is and this and that. But, do I think they're ready for a Resident Evil 7? No, probably not. One of my kids hasn't even ever watched a horror movie yet. She just doesn't want to. It doesn't appeal to her. So it is what it is. But that's just me. I take the more cautious approach. I don't have a problem with violence in video games, because in my mind, it's like, if you don't like that, then you don't play that type of game. I don't think anybody's caught off guard saying, I had no idea Grand Theft Auto was a violent game. No, of course you do. Like, you're not surprised by that. So I think as long as the parents are involved and they kind of know what their kids are playing and they can have those conversations, I don't have a personal problem with it. But yeah, my kids have a grounded head about it. They understand. And, I'm just easing them into it right now. So Nathan, how about you?
It's an interesting question. So obviously my son will find his way into my collection of games at some point and see some games in there that aren't the best as far as that goes. Maybe a little bit before I intend him to see him.
Hide that Leisure Suit Larry. Don't let me play that.
That's not a backwards compatibility yet.
Okay.
But to be quite honest, I don't enjoy like games that are violent. The reason why I don't even play Gears of War is because I think personally that does get a little bit too violent for me. It's too gritty, chainsawing other people. It's just, I didn't like seeing that all the time.
Sure.
So I never really continued on with that franchise because that's just kind of what stands out to me. And there's a lot of games where they do things that are just doesn't serve any purpose other than that they can do it. You know what I mean? It doesn't really serve a story purpose. It doesn't serve a mechanic purpose. But all of a sudden, just something happens out of the blue that's hyper violent in a game, and it's just like, come on, guys, really? So those type of games I usually avoid, which I think are usually in the id warehouse of games at this point. But there's some other indies out there that do just things too that I don't know. But I have an avoidance, I guess you could call it, of those games. The most violent I do get is like PUBG. Things that are very easy to discern that this is a video game. I don't like things that are hyper realistic. I don't like playing Call of Duty because you make out someone else's face and it's not an alien. Like if it's an alien or someone in a helmet the whole time, that's okay. Like a Spartan or something like that, right? That doesn't bother me. But if it's someone you're in the face and it's just like, come on, I don't like it. And you can call me weak or whatever. There's so much that I come to games for escapism, right? And there's a lot of stuff out there. And if you turn on the news, you see stuff out there that's not pleasant. And I don't necessarily want to see that in my entertainment. So that's why I stick to like the Star Wars games, the PUBG, the Telltale Batman games and things like that. Final Fantasy. And that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay. I think that's fair. That's a good point. You're right, because now that I'm thinking back, with the video games too, like the more violent video games, I started off like when my daughters wanted to watch me play Fallout 4, and a majority of the characters were mutants or people who had been affected. They didn't look like normal people, so I was okay with that. But yeah, you're right. I think when it's the hyper realistic thing, that's definitely something to maybe be concerned about. I get that. So, Josh, what about you and your future
my 1-year-old son?
Endeavors? Yeah, have you exposed him to PUBG yet?
Yeah, he's seen it. I'll say if anyone's interested, not this week's episode, but last week's episode of Bored with Video Games, Kyle and I took a deep dive into violence in gaming. If anyone wants to listen to that, we went into a little bit more detail about just the whole industry and pretty much everything we covered. But as far as the question goes for like my kid or how I will approach it, I mean, I worked retail for 90% of my working life. I've worked at Best Buy. I've worked at Toys R Us. So I've seen the differences. I've seen the kids who buy Grand Theft Autos. I've seen the grandparents who buy it for them. Yep. Ultimately, in my opinion, what it really comes down to is there's a few key things, right? Your job as a parent is to know what your child can take as far as content. And there'll be like moments in your child's life where you'll understand how they react to certain things, which should help you understand if they can play Gears of War at a certain age, or if they can watch or play PUBG at a certain age. But ultimately, it's your decision as a parent what to let your child play. And if my kid is 12 and all of his friends in school are playing Call of Duty, in my head, I'll play it first, or I'll play it with him. Or if he plays it and has a nightmare, then he'll stop playing it until I think enough time has passed. I have a good friend, a kid who I grew up with. I'll every once in a while I'll get a Facebook message from him asking me about a game his son wants to play. And he'll be like, "Oh, Cody really wants to play Arkham Knight. What do you think? Is that too violent for him?" And I'm like, "Well, how old is he now?" He's 13. I'm like, "Well, yeah, I would say Arkham Knight's a little violent, but I go like, what does he play now? What do you guys watch?
Yeah.
What's the last movie you guys watched together? Like it's all about context and content. So don't let anyone tell you you're a bad parent because you let your kid play Grand Theft Auto. That's a decision you made, and you're the one who's raising your kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't subscribe to video games relating to real world violence, but I'm also not a psychologist, so I'm not going to try to say that that's something I can defend as being like black and white issue. Like, no, it doesn't lead to violence. Like, obviously, there are situations where if someone is exposed to violent images for most of their life, it could bring violent tendencies. I would imagine so, but you know, people just look for something they don't understand, and video games are something politicians don't understand right now, and they never will, unless we become politicians. Which,
no thanks.
You know, that could be potential, but until you have someone who has life experience with that, like our president didn't know video games have a rating system. So how can you like? If you don't have someone pointing out to you that that's a big mistake you made, how can you lead a charge on saying video games create violence? There is a rating system. If the kid's playing an M-rated game, talk to the parents. If the kid doesn't have parents, talk to the foster parents. Talk to the legal guardians. Figure out what's going on. But you can't please everyone. There's millions of children in the United States that have access to violent video games, just like they have access to guns they shouldn't own.
You're right, and that's a good point about asking what people are watching with their kids, what they're talking about, and that's something like I'm traversing right now. Being the dad of a teenager now, so she's watching shows on TV now, like like Grey's Anatomy, so my wife would watch them all, so she knows what my daughter's watching, and then now they're watching Riverdale, which that's like the new thing for all kids that age right now, and that's not that's not the Archies I know. Like I will tell you that right off the bat. That's not. Yeah. But my wife is watching it too. Just number one reason is because she wants to know what my kids are watching, so she stays in touch with that there too. The reason my kids want to play PUBG is when I was describing it to my wife at the time, I was like, "Hey, this is basically the Hunger Games." I'm like, "You're just jumping out of a plane and it's the Hunger Games." My kids love the Hunger Games, so they immediately were like, "I want to play that." They've seen all the movies. So they've been exposed to that violence, but that's not done really in hyper realism in the Hunger Games movies, at least. But I felt comfortable at that point with saying, okay, well, you've seen those, and you could play this. So I'm with you. It's up to the parents to really decide what's appropriate, in conjunction with the kids, and kind of know what your kid can handle for sure. So
just as an aside, and a comment on that is, I play a lot of racing games, and when I was younger, I played a lot of flight simulator games. I have yet to fly a plane. And when I drive my car, I usually set the cruise control at the speed limit. So I don't drive recklessly, but I sure do when I fire up Forza Horizon and do all the stuff to get all the points.
Right.
And it just comes down to, is it distinguishing real from fake? You know what I mean?
And that's the biggest thing too, is we always hear, every once in a while there's a study that kind of everyone gets shocked at. We're like, hey, the average age of a gamer now is like mid-30s. That's where I am right now. So I've grown up my entire life playing video games. I'm okay, I think. I mean, Donnie may disagree that I'm not okay sometimes, but
Kevin, we should probably talk.
Yeah. But so you look at that, it's like, okay, well, clearly that's not video games, because if you're looking at a study, normally you have to look at a study for years and years and years to see how it affects people growing up. You're making these snap judgments on a kid who's 16 years old, has a bad day, and goes and shoots up his school. Well, okay, he might have been exposed to the same things, but for a far less period of time. I'm in the firm belief that can it do more damage to somebody? Yes, but that person already must have something more deep-seated as an issue to begin with. And that can be contributed to pushing them over the edge, sure, but that's not causing it in my mind.
But it's a systematic thing if you think about it, because Donnie kind of made a comment in the comments that was something we touched on. We talk about violence in this country like it's okay, and nudity is on the flip side. Like, you're censoring nudity and you're saying graphic violence is okay. And that's what kids grow up on.
Yep.
And if you normalize something like that, you take something that should be more strict, in my opinion, again, and then like you have all these people body shaming everyone because they think nudity is a terrible thing and you shouldn't see it until you're 18. But you go ahead and shoot, you go on the gun range or your dad when you're 8, kill your first deer. Like it's whichever side of the coin you fall on. When you tell someone, a child, that something is bad, what's the first thing that they want to do? They want to get enveloped in it, whatever it is. So, like, if things can be normalized, I think that's the way you can take the sting out of things. Or if you think something is too violent, then talk to your kid and tell them why. Like, why can't I play Grand Theft Auto? Because I said so isn't a good answer anymore. Like tell them why.
Yeah.
And then if they say, like I wasn't able to watch Alien on Laserdisc, by the way, until I turned 12. My dad said, when you're 12, we'll watch it. So we stayed up till midnight the day when I would turn 12, and we watched Alien together. And it wasn't even that scary to me at that point, but like he decided based on where I was when I was be appropriate to watch something like that. So it's not any different with video games.
Agreed. All right, I think that's enough heavy for today. Let's get into some more lighthearted stuff. So everyone, thank you for sending your questions to you can tweet at us at PSVG, or you can always email us at podcast@playsomevideogames.com if you're old fashioned like that. But gentlemen, I say it's time to check out the news of the week. Josh, why don't you go first there, buddy?
Speaking of violence in video games,
let's
get right into the news. So today we had a few big announcements today, to be totally honest with you. This is, I would say people would argue if this is big news or not, just because a lot of people aren't big on The Division. However, there's also a huge fan base for The Division. Today, Ubisoft came out and they just said, you all been thinking it, it's happening. The Division 2 has been in development, is currently in development by like 5 Ubisoft studios. There's a lot of people working on this game.
Yeah, there is.
And, they didn't touch too much on The Division 2. What they did talk about was there's even more free improvements and enhancements coming out to The Division.
Yep.
They announced Xbox One X enhancement support coming to The Division. They did say, I think they're in the midst of season 2 for The Division, but they're going to continue supporting it, leading up to and probably after the Division 2 comes out. They will show The Division 2 at Ubisoft's press conference for E3. And one of the things, so I have The Division on PlayStation 4. I played it solo. I finished the game. I didn't get into any of the multiplayer stuff. But they announced a thing called, I want to make sure I get the word right, called Shields. And it's a type of achievement that they're adding to the Division game itself. And as you complete these achievements, you'll be unlocking content for the Division 2. So for me, that's throwing me, I'm going to pick up the Division on Xbox now, so I can use my Xbox One X enhancements and play that game again, and now getting these achievements that I can carry into the Division 2. The big questions are, is it going to be the same type of gameplay style? Will it be in another like city like New York? Will it be in the United States? What's the plan? We won't find out until June, but there's a lot of happy people. And then unfortunately, if you read the comments, like anywhere on the internet, there's a lot of terrible people who aren't excited. But Ubisoft has been hitting them out of the park for the past 2 years, with maybe the exception of Steep, which I think was kind of a big flop for them. But I think everything else that they've been doing has been crushing it.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason to have any doubt that this is going to be a great success for them, and I'm very excited to play it.
I think so as well. I mean, I think the sequel is going to be hyped up enough that people will definitely jump in if they hadn't already. I have not played the Division yet, but I'd always kind of been interested in it. I just at the time when that came out, I wasn't your online multiplayer person, but you guys kind of pushed me to Destiny 2, and now I'm really enjoying that now. And obviously doing PUBG and stuff like that. I'm all in on this kind of stuff now, so it definitely has my interest a lot more than it did before. And you're right, Ubisoft, man, has been on a streak, because when I think back at some of the games I've enjoyed the most over the last, I don't know, 5 years, I'd say a lot of them are Ubisoft games. Like, they've done some quality stuff. So I think, as many shortcomings as the first one might have had for a lot of people, I think they used that whole opportunity as a learning experience. And you got to remember, that's a new franchise and it's an online franchise. Those are always tough to do to begin with, than to take the feedback, make improvements, and kind of put out a better product second time around is a great way. And what better way to try and cross promote that than say, okay, if you play Division 1 right now, you'll get stuff for Division 2 when it comes out. So now they're going to get people to either buy a second copy and, buy a used copy because they already traded their one in from before, or get people to jump in for the first time now. Like, there's a lot of opportunity here to sell a lot more units of that game, the first one, and build up the hype for the sequel at the same time.
It's like $10, like digitally, if you catch it on a sale. So you can get it for a great price.
Yeah, agreed. Any comments, Nathan?
So I played the Division. I played quite a lot of Division. And that was one of the first games I reviewed for the site, actually. I think I reviewed it for the site. If not, I at least wrote an article about it. But I like that game a lot. I'm looking forward to see what these enhancements do. And it's nice to see that they're still supporting this game, years in. This is what, year 3? I think it's year 3.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, seeing the Xbox One X enhancement, I will definitely want to check it out again on my Xbox One X and see what it looks like. And like he said, I want to do those shields and earn that content for the new stuff. So I'm excited about it. People always are like, "Oh, old game is old." I don't have that mentality anymore. Old game is new again, as far as I'm concerned, and I haven't played it in like years. I want to go back in, check it out. I remember having a lot of fun with it, and looking forward to pulling my crew back together. Agents, are you ready?
You make a good point. The old game is old comment. I think for people like us now, old game is just a game we didn't have enough time to play before.
This is exactly true.
So yeah, I agree. All right. I'll go next then. One thing, so I've been a big proponent of this game for a while now, and they just keep seeming to add more and more to it. Is Far Cry 5. We're getting closer and closer to the release of that at the end of this month. They've talked about their crazy DLC already, so I'll go over briefly if you didn't know already. First one is you in Viet Cong, called Hours of Darkness. You'll fly helicopters. It's kind of like Rambo-esque and Tropic Thunder-esque, so probably in the same vein as Blood Dragon, but in a different environment. There's another expansion going to be Lost on Mars. They'll put you against Martian aliens aimed to destroy Earth. It's very sci-fi, 50s, 60s sci-fi type thing. And then they're doing the zombie mode that everybody else does at this point. So co-op mode, you'll team up and fight against hordes and waves of zombies. So that all was great. $30 season pass gets you all 3 of those expansions, plus a copy of Far Cry 3 Classic Edition. So that's a great value. But wait, there's more. They announced this week they have a level editor called Arcade that you'll be able to create your own custom missions for solo, co-op, or squad-based combat. And it's going to have elements from Far Cry 3, 4, and Primal all in there that you can build off of, as well as other Ubisoft franchises. There's going to be some Assassin's Creed Black Flag content, some Assassin's Creed Unity content, and yes, even Watch Dogs 2 content that you'll be able to build your own levels, further adding to the insanity that Far Cry 5 is quickly becoming. So I encourage everyone to check that out. I will be playing it, and Donnie will be playing it because of Game Share. I believe Kyle and Josh, you guys are jumping in too, right?
Yes, sir.
So and that'll be your first experience of the Far Cry, so that'll be fun. But yeah, it looks like this will be a game that will keep me busy for quite some time. Nathan, are you in on Far Cry, or what's your thoughts?
I've never played a Far Cry game.
Oh man, you guys are killing me.
It's just one of those games where I just didn't have time to play it. Like Far Cry 3, I think I own Far Cry 3 and 4, and I've never played them. So maybe one day.
Someday. Someday. Do you have any news, Nathan? I know you were having technical difficulties, so.
Well, I was having technical difficulties, but I do have a couple news articles I can at least, shout out. First off, for the PC players and eventually probably the Xbox players, PUBG announced their 2018 roadmap, which has a pretty cool thing. There's a smaller map. It's 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers, so it's very small, and it'll have a higher player density. It makes it more fast paced, more interesting. You'll probably get a lot more action quickly. In the current map, it's a big area to go through, and you have to get a car to survive, kind of thing. And here, it just seems like it'll be a lot more action and quickly jump into those type of firefights. So looking forward to seeing if that ever comes out to the Xbox. I know on the PC side, they've had like the new map forever. We still haven't seen it on Xbox.
Yeah.
And they're also talking about there's going to be an emote system that they're working on putting in, which is just kind of fun because there's times where you're goofing around with buddies and you just want to do it like an emote type action. I know I was playing the other night with some guys. We were just goofing around and I was honking the horn all the time and pulling away from guys. He was trying to get in the car and just like kept pulling, just stupid stuff. But it's kind of fun to have that content in there. And it seems to be like the Pubg Corp team is really committed to still improving this game. And on the flip side of the coin, Fortnite had an announcement today that they were going to be launching a mobile version of the game, which will include crossplay with PlayStation 4, but not Xbox One.
That's unusual.
So the rumor is that Sony has been in talks with that developer, I think it's Epic, to make something like this happen. That's unsubstantiated at this point. It may never be. But it's kind of interesting because, you never hear that it's going to be on one and the other. Yeah. Usually if it's crossplay, Xbox has been, hey, come, we'll play with you.
Totally.
And PlayStation's kind of been the standoff one. So just thought that was weird. But it's the mobile game. So I don't really know who would want to play a mobile game versus a person on a PlayStation 4 anyway. So
it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, you raise up a good point though, that if it is just gonna be a PlayStation, which I didn't know. I knew they announced it, but I know it's gonna be cross with PS4. Is Sony making a move to have Fortnite maybe be exclusive to Sony?
Well, it's already on Xbox though.
No, I know, but if they do something different and then they kind of just have it only be PlayStation, kind of give you guys what is already out there in Xbox, and Xbox, you don't get any more content, but new stuff only comes to PlayStation to kind of combat the PUBG Xbox connection.
Well, I would be careful if I were them, because Fortnite is popular because it's free, and PUBG is just popular because it's addictive.
Yeah.
And there's over 4 million players that have purchased PUBG on the Xbox, and who knows, or somebody knows how many people are on the PC side. And if they, if this irks Microsoft, they could easily be like, hey, what's up, PUBG Corp? We're going to buy you.
Yep.
Or something to make it exclusive. So don't rattle the cage too much. If that's their intent, I would be cautious.
I don't get this move. If you're Sony, why would you ever want to make a PS4 game crossplay with a mobile game?
Yeah.
Why would anyone want to do that? That's like, it's not even me hating on PlayStation, because like I could have just been like, well, Xbox isn't doing it because they're smart, if I wanted to be like that. But,
right.
But why would anyone want to do that? It's
the only scenario
it's set up for failure.
Yeah. The only scenario I could see that working with is like Hearthstone or some sort of card game where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, speed doesn't matter. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Sense. I mean, I will say this for Fortnite versus PUBG. Fortnite does have double the amount of streams than PUBG does.
It's because it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Paladins doesn't have more.
That's because it's not that good.
Well, yeah.
Fair enough. All right, so the last story I have then is actually something I brought up earlier today to kind of combat the people who, for some reason, one or another, like to celebrate Nintendo Switch reward system that they have. that they just announced at launch Monday, where you can get points, you can get gold coins essentially for every purchase you make, and eventually you'll be able to get money off. And if you save up enough, you can get a free Switch game that you can just download through the eShop. So sounds good in theory, sure. The problem is okay, so every Nintendo Gold coin is worth about a penny, which means you need 5,999 points to buy a single full price Nintendo Switch game. Okay, sure. If you buy all of your Switch games through Nintendo's eShop, so if you buy only digital, you get a little bit more extra. You get 5% gold coins. So, okay, but if you want collector's editions of games, you can't buy those digital because you don't get those physical rewards. Or if you're somebody who just simply wants to trade in a game down the line, you can't do that with digital, obviously. Nintendo physical titles hold normally, historically, great resale value compared to their counterparts in Xbox and PlayStation. But, so let's look at it this way. If you wanted to get a full price digital game for free using this system, you'll need to spend about $6,000 or the equivalent of 100 Switch physical games, all priced at $60, mind you, just to get one full price digital game back. And that's only if you buy physical releases, which actually isn't even possible. So let's take that into regards here. So first off, your gold coins expire 1 year after getting them. So 1 year after purchase, they expire if you don't use them. So you use them or you lose them. Okay. If you were, Josh, right now to hit the lottery.
I am Josh right now.
Well, you are. But if you were to hit the lottery and say, hey, I want to own every single Switch game. Why? I don't know. But let's say you do. And you want to buy every single one that's been released physically. You would only reach $3,260 based on current retail value of these games.
No, I'm just over halfway there.
Yep. And
buy it twice.
And mind you, it's been out for a year. So within another 12 months, you'd have to purchase double that to get one free game. So,
but Kevin, I really want my free game.
That's true.
So I'll just buy one for everyone on PSVG.
What game's going to be free? I mean, you have them all.
This is the other problem. That's the other problem. This makes no sense. So yeah, I know people are saying, well, Nintendo's giving you free money, and yeah, I can get an indie game free every once in a while. Which yes, that's true. You can get a $5, $10 indie game if you buy enough stuff. But
wait a second. If you buy your games from a credit card that has like cash back rewards, you'll get it a lot quicker that way than the Nintendo way.
Yeah, that's my point exactly. And I don't want to say like everyone else is kind of in the Discord looking at me like I'm a madman, but I'm like, this makes no sense. And like, well, you're getting something for free. And the analogy I brought up today was, okay, well, Club Nintendo was a way better offering back in the day. And yes, that's gone. I get that. But when you offer a new reward system, of course you're going to think back and say, well, your previous reward system had X, Y, and Z. This makes no sense. So like, well, Kevin, be quiet. You're getting something for free. Okay. Let's then take PS Plus or games with gold. Let's say next month, starting in April, both services come out and say, hey guys, you get one game a month. All those people are going to be pretty ticked off. And it's understandable. You've set a precedence that here's what you should expect from us. And you would only expect it would get better over time, not necessarily worse, unless it was just canceled altogether, maybe. But you bring this, we haven't had any Switch rewards at all, anything of any sort, no themes, no, exclusive games you can only get through a reward system, something like that. Stuff they did on the Wii U and the 3DS already. We're a year into the Switch and that's not even there yet. So our only option is to use these gold coins for Wii U games, which nobody has a Wii U anymore. 3DS games, nobody's playing 3DS anymore unless they have to. And the stuff they're offering is really old indie games. You have no other option other than let your points expire or save. Like currently I can save $3 on Kirby if I buy it digitally. Well, guess what? I have Amazon Prime. I saved like $13 off the game. I'm not buying it digitally to save $3. It doesn't make any sense. So this system is just clearly broken. I really hope Nintendo reevaluates the way it is, but we know how they operate. And the fact that we don't even have Virtual Console this far out doesn't bode well for me. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Anybody got?
Hold on one second.
Go right in.
So, just a PSA to the listeners. As a representative of the Xbox Empire, I am obligated contractually. Donnie made me sign a weird thing with blood. To tell you that the Xbox Live Rewards program exists, and it has existed for a very long time. So if you buy stuff on there, you can earn up to 10% back. Mm-hmm. So just a PSA, Xbox Live Rewards, check it out if you don't have it already. If you've never heard of it,
And Bing
if you like
rewards
digital stuff.
and Bing
And
rewards.
Bing rewards too. Yeah, just I mean, if you want to use Bing as your search engine, that's one thing.
Yeah,
but
just do it to get the rewards. Just don't take any information you get from Bing. Just get your rewards.
Yeah, I mean, because Bing rewards, you can turn every search that you do gives you a point, and after like was it 250 points, that turns into like $5 or something at the Xbox store. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of way to get free stuff over on that side too. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely, and that's kind of my argument here. Is like we look at what Nintendo's offering, it's kind of a joke. So it is what it is. I can't change it, but I can certainly complain about it because I have a microphone and I have the internet, and I have all of you at home who subscribe to this madness for some reason. All right, gents, we're about at that time. Do we have any other news stories we want to hit really quick?
What did they announce today? They announced something else today.
Call of Duty?
Black Ops 4. It said, forget everything you know about Black Ops.
That Black Ops 4 logo is stupid, by the way.
Yes.
That is not how you portray the number 4 in any way.
Nope.
Ever.
That's how they did it, though.
And that's why they said, forget everything you know about it. So they forget everything you know about Roman numerals.
I'm not, I mean, I haven't been big on a Call of Duty game in the past few years, but with the promise of a different style or theme, if they fulfill that weird, vague promise, I'd be interested to see what's coming.
I want to see Call of Duty in the Revolutionary War.
No one wants to see that.
I mean, wouldn't that be interesting though?
Because load time's like a minute and a half because you got to put the gunpowder in and jam the rod in.
We've gone back to World War, One and Battlefront. We did World War II in the last Call of Duty. Let's go back to give me the Revolutionary War with the redcoats versus the those colonialists. I want to see it.
Yeah,
you're a Boston, you're a Patriot fan, right? You want to see this, right?
Yeah. No. They'll go with the Far Cry route and do like a primal, so it's gonna be like cavemen Call of Duty.
Dude, yeah, just make it like a DLC thing, or I would buy that. If it was like DLC for a game, like a Blood Dragon type scenario, and it just you're in the revolutionary time frame. This is perfect. This is gold for anybody that wants to do this. By the way, I'll do it. Far Cry should do it. Yeah, Far Cry should do it.
If it's DLC,
there's already a game. There's already a Civil War game. History Channel made one. Look it up.
Yeah, no, don't look it up. Don't.
I'm saying that they should just add like a DLC component to this, and it's a mainstream game. People will pay attention to this. They don't pay attention to the History Channel game.
No. They also make Duck Dynasty. Let's leave it at that. So we'll ignore that. But yeah, no, I agree. If it's DLC, I'd totally be down for that. But like, you can't make a full-fledged, here's Call of Duty this year. This is this. Sorry, guys, reload times are a minute and a half, and you better hope you have gunpowder in your little horn thing that you got to put it in there with the beads and all that stuff.
It's a VIP protection mission to cross the Delaware.
Fair enough. All right. Before we sign off, guys, is there anything you'd like to plug? Josh, you go first, sir.
Yeah, I'll plug something. It's called Bored with the Video Games. It's something that I do. Listen to it. Kyle and I do Bored with Video Games. It drops every Thursday. We have a Twitter. We have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. We have an email address. You can find us at all of those. If you want to email us, it's boredwiththevg@gmail.com, facebook.com/boredwithvg. Twitter is boredwithvg, and Instagram, and that's BOARD. So save your jokes, Nathan.
I wasn't gonna make any jokes.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah, you shots fired right away.
What?
Right away when we started. I will never forget.
Oh, that wasn't me. That was Donnie. Come on.
Totally. No, check us out. We're making big strides, I think, and we're really enjoying what we do. So if you have any interest in board games, definitely listen. If you don't, half of our show is video games. So just listen to half of it. We'll just take the downloads. Half-ish. Yeah. Some games are more video games. Some shows are more video games, but mostly they're more board games. So
they have a pretty good track record. 60% of the time it works every time.
Yeah, that's my audio situation too.
That's true. Nathan.
So I do have something I want to unplug, and that's my microphone. This Yeti Pro is giving me all kinds of issues. So from one podcaster to any listeners out there, I don't recommend the Yeti Pro.
Nathan, I hate to tell you, this week's episode was brought to you by Yeti Pro microphones.
Well, in that case, I got a defective one. So, but no, anyway. So on the PSVG vein, we launched our first episode for the monthly Xbox show on the channel. It is the state of the Xbox Empire. So it is a monthly discussion. Usually going to have myself as the host, a co-host that has an Xbox, so as a member of the Empire, and then usually going to have a guest in there too, to rotate through and just discuss topics that are quote unquote timeless. So that way it's not news. It's just a discussion that, we can go back a year from it and listen to it and it still have the same value. So our first episode was about exclusives, and that was myself, Donnie, and our special guest was Sean Capri. So give that a listen. That came out on Sunday, and look for another one next month. And if you like movies, TV shows, and things like that, you can also check out a little something called That's Entertaining, another monthly show that I do. So there you go. Oh, the Twitter, by the way, since Josh was over here for 10 minutes talking about Facebook and Instagram and emails and all this other stuff, Twitter is the only thing I care about, honestly, for the Xbox Empire. So if you follow at PSVG Xbox Empire, we would be greatly appreciated. And we're going to give away stuff. So give us a follow, get some stuff, and listen to the show. Let us know what you think. I really want to make sure that you guys like it.
Fair enough. So I'll hop into a couple plugs myself. Number one, Nathan and I are getting ready to shine that bat signal again. The final entry of Batman Telltale Season 2 is dropping at the end of this month. So sometime in April, expect our review cast wrapping up the whole shebang, if you will. Also, you already missed it, but go back to Sunday on the feed and download the latest episode of Arcadia Academia. This month, Nathan, Tyler, myself, and Caroline discuss Sonic the Hedgehog from the original Genesis. So that's Sonic. Sonic is brought up numerous times, so have no fear. It's a fun time. So check out that show if you're not already. That's also a monthly release we release here on Sundays, like all of our other shows that aren't regular. You can follow me on Twitter at PSVG Kevin. Follow the show at PSVG. I think that's it, guys. I think we've covered it all. So
hold on.
Oh, stop my roll. Go ahead.
What's the posed awkward finish?
I'm just since I'm on again, I wanted to encourage any listeners to share the show with a stranger,
whether
you like them or not.
Get consent first.
Just like roll down your window when you're in the when you're in the McDonald's drive-thru. Just be like, hey, have you guys listened to PSVG?
when you're in McDonald's wearing a monocle.
It's during the Monopoly game.
Yes.
And you turn up PSVG so they can hear what's going on. You'd be like, have you guys ever listened to this? They're like, what is that? And then you say it's PSVG. And they're happy, and there you go.
Yes, good things. All the good things. Tell people.
Hilarious.
It's been a long day for all of us. So let's put ourselves out of this misery here. So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening once again. And whether you're a supporter of violent video games or you're left in 88 seconds of complete silence, the most important thing is that you remember to never stop gaming.